Ted Cruz has made a bold announcement. He will be running for president of the United States of America. Washington. All right, he sent out this tweet. Tweets are how you declare things these days, apparently. It's a little goofy, but not that I don't have love for Twitter. I'm running for president. I hope to earn your support. Washington sent a very similar tweet. Actually, we'll get to that in a second because he, of course, compared himself to George Washington. No, not George Bush, George Washington. Okay. Cruz made a formal announcement on Monday at Liberty University in Virginia, in case you were a little unclear about what a religious zealot he is. No, I'm at a religious school here at Liberty University. Perfect, it's about religion, and it's called Liberty. Later, I'll be going to Freedom University, and then I'll be ending my tour at America University. It's actually American University, which is a great college. But anyway, so what's this all about? Well, what's his positioning? As the Washington Post explains, he has curried the favor of social conservatives by highlighting his opposition to marriage equality and abortion. Well, good for you, okay? He is opposed to progress. So if you're interested in gay rights or other kind of civil rights, Ted Cruz is not your guy, okay? Not interested in your goddamn rights. Now, the other thing he's doing is, of course, juxtaposing himself with some of the other people who are going to get into the race, like Rand Paul. So he says he's very hawkish on national security, which he is. Very pro-war, no question about that. And Rand Paul is not as much in favor of war since he's a little bit more libertarian. So that's a good contrast between those two. Now, they explained that he scoped out an office space for a campaign headquarters in Houston, Texas, and terminated his Canadian citizenship in preparation. I can't help but be amused by that. Could you imagine if President Obama did likewise? Well, he got some campaign offices in Chicago and terminated his Kenyan citizenship before he decided to run for the President of the United States. The rough reaction of conservatives everywhere would have been, they had that reaction anyway, and he didn't have Kenyan citizenship. So I love, hey, where's Orly Taitz? You know, and all the other birthers and Donald Trump talking about Ted Cruz was born in Canada. He renounced his Canadian citizenship a second ago before he decided to run for presidency of our country. I mean, look, I wouldn't want to wish that plague on the Canadians, our good friends north of the border. I'm not saying he should go over there, okay, or run for their leadership, but the guy wasn't born here. Look, you make a good case that he should be able to run since I wasn't born here and I'm a U.S. citizen. Not such a bad case to make, okay? But what happened to all the guys who were so obsessed about the long form? Where's the goddamn long form for here? Well, but his mom was American when he was born. So was Obama's. Things that make you go, okay, all right. But I am actually going to compliment Cruz on one thing. As they explain in the Post here, Cruz is the first high-profile candidate to officially declare that he's running for president and will forego an exploratory committee. Ah, thanks God. Okay. So, one, I'm complimenting him on being the first one in. Everybody else is like, I'm positioning for announcing and then re-announcing and partially announcing and then further announcing. He's like, I'm running for president. You know it. I know it. The American people know it. I might as well say it, right? And number two, the exploratory committee. What a crock. Which of these politicians go exploring? They're like, I formed an exploratory committee. I was exploring, and then I realized, no, I suck. No, I'm not going to run for president. No, they do the exploratory committee, and then they run for. He's like, I'm skipping that step. And look, the man's a man of action. You don't like it? I don't like a lot. I think almost all of his actions. I can't name one thing I like about Ted Cruz, but he is bold. You got to give him that. You know, oh, I'm a new senator. Who cares? Boom. Kick the door open and be like, screw your exploratory committees. I'm coming. So I appreciate that. I understand that, even though I'm not on the same side of the debate as he is. All right, now let's have a little bit of fun and tell you what he said, because this is where George Washington and the others come into play. See, it wouldn't be enough to compare yourself to George Washington. You'd have to throw FDR in, but that wouldn't quite do the job either. You can't run for president on the Republican side without also throwing in Reagan. So, Ted Cruz says he's fighting long odds, but he knows it. But some other great Americans were also fighting great odds. So he said in his statements about running for president, imagine it was 1777. And we were watching General Washington as he lost battle after battle after battle in the freezing cold as the soldiers with no shoes were dying fighting for freedom against the most powerful army in the world. That too seemed unimaginable. Imagine it's 1933 and we're listening to President Franklin Delano Roosevelt tell America at a time of crushing depression that at a time of gathering storm abroad, we have nothing to fear but fear itself. Imagine it's 1979. You and I were listening to Ronald Reagan, and he was telling us that we would cut the top marginal tax rate from 70% all the way down to 28%. That we would go from crushing stagnation to booming economic growth, to millions of being lifted out of poverty and into prosperity and abundance. And then, of course, he turns around and goes, now imagine me winning. Like, you see, you get Washington, Reagan, and FDR. Now, I know he's making an analogy, and I know he's saying, like, those things seemed impossible, and now, don't give up. And there is some validity to that analogy, because I understand that most of his supporters do not wear shoes. They wear largely tinfoil hats. That's the main piece of clothing that they have. In other videos, we'll tell you about the crazy conspiracy theories that Ted Cruz believes in. But overall here, it is emblematic of how Ted Cruz views himself, right? He views himself as this messianic character. His dad says that he is the chosen one, anointed to lead us all, and that he taught him that from a young age. Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, right? That's some dangerous stuff. So it's not surprising that he'd come out here and be like, imagine it's Nazareth, and instead of Jesus, it's me. Okay, that's what he's been imagining his whole life. So, of course, he's going boldly in that direction. He's going to run for president. I don't think he'll win, but I do think he will create a holy mess. I think that he will attack, including the other Republicans, in vicious ways. He will be super aggressive. He'll make it an interesting race. Before he leaves, he'll take a whole bunch of people with him. I mean, if this was a Royal Rumble, like in the old days of wrestling, I mean, he'd take out 3, 4, 5 guys. He'd eventually get thrown out by the rest of them. But a lot of people are going to be bleeding from the foreheads before he goes.